G'day and welcome back to the channel. First, we'll do a quick update of a few changes that I made to the website since the previous video. So on the main page, we do have a version history. So if you do notice anything has changed, you can come to here, and the expectation is that every time I make a change, and you can see the history of all of the changes that have been made in the past. So yeah, we can see our version 1.1 where we corrected the crit ratio information. Since then, I've added additional move flags, which is dance, heal, powder moves, win moves, and I updated the battle info tab with battle stages. So we can go to the Pokedex, we can have a look at moves, and you can see the flags here. So we've already had, bite, bullet, contact, but now we've got dance, heal, powder, wind. So those are all in there for when it has applicable, relationship with a Pokemon's ability. And also the battle information. We've got the battle stages there now. So, when it's -6 or +6, when it says, it's increased your attack or reduced their accuracy or evasion, we've got all of those values up on the page now. Go back to the home page. Again, you can see all the history of Team Builder, the different iterations that we've had over the previous months. Coverage calculator, again, back when it originally launched to what it is now, is basically unrecognizable. And then we're going to have a look at team draft. So recent change here, I exposed the score value for groupings to assist comparisons, which will become relevant when we build our team later in the episode. No changes to the generic calculator since last time where we corrected the crit ratio information. And then specific calculator, I fixed a deduplication on the defensive results that I noticed again in a previous episode. So now it's only filtered by damage rolls and filtered additionally by most effective SP spent. Without further ado, we'll go into today's episode, which is we're going to draft a new team based on my personal favorite Pokemon, which is Gengar. And we have two options. Selecting Mega in this scenario just kind of prevents Megas from being recommended early. Otherwise, you could potentially end up with a team with 6 Megas, which won't overly function well because you'll be missing out a lot of items. But in this scenario, we'll give Mega Gengar a go. And you can see here now, it's actually giving you the score value. So between the two, Meowscarada does edge out a little bit over Pangoro. It's also interesting to note that over the years of this kind of mathematical approach to team building, Meowscarada is a new grass dark that was introduced into the generation with Scarlet Violet. But previously, we only had Shiftry, who was grass dark and not as good as Meowscarada. So, as the format changes and potentially as they add more Pokemon, this, when candidates would certainly grow and we'll have access to new Pokemon as the format grows. So we'll have, more starting points and more pathways through the different typings. So for this, yeah, I definitely prefer Meowscarada over Pangoro, but you can change it up, give it a go. So yeah, we'll go for Meowscarada. Now it's recommending some, electric fire, electric water, Rotoms. But again, you can see here Rotom rates pretty high. You lose a bit of points if you go down to, Rotom wash. But you've also got, a bit of water, a bit of fairy, a bit of flying. But we'll take the top option here. Rotom heat's pretty solid for the format. And then, yeah, you can still see where, we're missing a bit of water, bit of fairy, bit of fairy, bit of steel. We had Tinkerton in the last one. So we could do a Zoomeril or Primarina, but we might go Primarina for this one. And that then kind of gives us our water, fire, grass core. Then we've got Ghost Poison. Then we can see what else has come up. So you can see Crocodile has just edged out Garchomp here for the top score. So again, we can see that offensive coverage of Electric Poison. It resists our team's weakness of Poison and Rock, which is basically what Garchomp does. But Garchomp has, that 4 times weakness to Ice. It doesn't add as much resistance, which is where Crocodile's got a bit wider super effective coverage than Garchomp. and has a bit more resistances than what Garchomp's adding, because it elevates the ones that are relevant. But yeah, we'll give Crocodile a go. It gives us access to Intimidate, which should be really good. Again, that gives us our Ground Dark, and then our other choices here, we can do something like Poison Psychic, Slowbro, Slowking, both Galarian forms. We can still have an opportunity to add some steel, and steel is probably one of the hardest types to balance in this kind of mathematical approach because it's just resistance against so many different types. It's got a wide array of offensive coverage, so you could definitely do a steel entry for the last one. And you can see, yeah, the points, it's 5.81 over 5.74. So you're not losing a whole lot. And that was the reason that these scores were kind of made visible just to help with that decision making where it's like, do I need to do this? But I think for this one, we're just I haven't used Slowbro or Slowking Galar, but I think this guy has the fast ability or priority moving up in the bracket, and he's got the side shell arm unique to him. So we'll give Slowbro Galar a go. So yeah, we've got our six there. I mean, we've doubled up on poison, we've doubled up on dark, but they're not sharing, I don't think, the same weaknesses and offensive coverage. But we'll open that up in the team builder, and we can have a look. And I can see my portrait's kind of blocking the left side there. So I'll take note of that. But so yeah, we can see Meowscarada here and Crocodile, both of our dark types. Yeah, they're going to share that same weakness to ice from the grass typing and the ground typing. And then you can see they also share the same weakness to fighting. But Gengar has the immunity to fighting, Primarina and Slowbro Galar have the resistance to fighting. So that's what it tries to balance as it goes through. Again, we can then have a look at our move that. Ah, look at that. New feature I found out. So yeah, now we can have a look at the offensive tab, and we can see, yeah, we've got pretty good coverage, except for, Dragon. We've only really got Primarina, but we'll Meowscarada run Triple Axle to cover that as well. And then, yeah, we don't have much against, we've got two against Steel, and then, yeah, Slowbro Galar's not doing much against Steel, so we'll take note of that. So first thing we can go through is fix up our abilities. So yeah, protein over overgrowth, sure. Levitate's locked in. Primarina, we've got torrent, which increases your water damage if you're low on hit points. But we'll go liquid voice, which turns something into water. So if you're not sure what you can do, I've also added this button here into the TED editor, so you can open just straight into the Pokedex. So yeah, liquid turns sound-based moves become water type. So that's the advantage of having this flag field. We can have a look at, well, what sound-based moves are getting turned into water type. And we can see here, so Hyper Voice is getting turned into water, Sparkling Aria was already water. But yeah, we've got Uproar. So this one turns the fairy move. So if you want a water 100% confused target, that had a stat rise. So again, you've got that option. Yeah, so yeah, we'll go liquid voice. Again, we'll go intimidate here. We're not really moxing or anchor pointing. And then here we can do, yeah, quick draw as the one that I was trying to think of before, which is the Pokemon has a 30% chance to move first in its priority bracket with attacking. And then it's an interesting one because it has 120 attack and 120 special attack. So you could do physical or special, but the unique move for Slowbro Galar is this side shell arm, which is a 9100, 20% chance to poison. But it chooses, physical contact if it would be stronger. So if you're up against, someone with a higher special defense, given this guy will probably hopefully look to take down our fairies along with Gengar. If it comes up against like Sylveon, who has quite a high special defense, the side sheller will actually use physical plus contact because that will likely be stronger over, say, Sludge Bomb, which just has a 30% chance to poison the target. So with that now built, We'll start with Gengar. Again, if you're not sure what kind of moves, you can have a look at this view coverage. It gives you a good overview of the moves that score the highest damage. So yeah, we've got Focus Blast, which is your fighting, 70% accuracy. Sludge Wave, if we're going for doubles, we don't really have any steel on the team. Usually you can, pair Gengar or, Poison type with some steel, do big Sludge Wave damage, but we'll just drop that down to Sludge Bomb. Then we've got Shadow Ball. Thunder's really good against some of these targets. We've got Psychic, but we've already got that covered, and Dazzling Gleam. We've got Primarina covering that. So again, you can come in here, have a bit of a play, look at some, different options. So now we can go to our generic calculator. We can put our Mega Gengar in. So yeah, our ability's locked, our held item's locked because there's only one choice. And yeah, we'll do our Shadow Ball and Sludge Bomb. So you can see here, um, the only, because we've got Shadow Ball at 80 base power and Sludge Bomb at 90 base power, you can see they kind of have different breakpoints. And then it looks for the shared ones, and the only shared one is 15. So you can do a few ways to, manually fix it, or you could just maybe, I want to focus on Shadow Ball, so I just want to find the highest one, which for this is 32. Then we'll come in and we definitely want to be outspeeding. So we go Timid to increase our speed minus our attack because we're not using that. And then let's have a look at who we outspeed. So if you can start at the top. So yeah, whenever we're outspeeding Delphox Mega, Lopunny Meta, if they're, 32 plus nature. But we can tie with normal Aerodactyl or Jolteon, which isn't overly important. We've got Talonflame if we invest 29, Weavile, definitely want to maybe, I don't know how often we're seeing these ones. And this is another way to sort of judge it. Like, if you see Sneasler, and, we're likely to see a lot of them in the format, we only need 23 SPs to outspeed Sneasler, or even Frostlass Mega. So we're definitely at minimum going to be investing 23. So you can just do that for now. And then if you want more, you can add more. Question is, do we want to add more? We can outspeed normal Alakazam with 23 as well. So 23 is pretty good. It's just if we want to outspeed Pidgeot Mega, Greninja, Meowscarada, might be a good one. We do see a bit of that. Noivern, bit of this. We can go to 27. Not seeing too many Weaviles, and we're probably not going to be a good counter for Weavile. Put 29 in to outspeed Talonflame. And we might see one of those. And we don't have a rock in the, so yeah, maybe we just do 29. Drop that down a little bit to say 25, go to the next break point. And again, just as a starting point, this might be what we have a look at. I wanted to keep a little bit of bulk, because, I'm used to running normal Gengar with Focus Sash. So I want to try and get our defense up to, because we're not actually at a point where we're increasing defense, because you've got like 100 and 115. Ideally, we'd get some more into that, maybe the 147. But again, if you want, you can sort of drop your output, see where that comes down to. So yeah, even if we drop all the way to, 5 special attack, it's still recommending we fully invest in hit points. So we do want to be pretty offensive. He's going to be, kind of sweeper, but he's probably going to be our opener as well, because we've got that shadow tag that locks people in. So as a starting point, we can adjust that just as easily later. We'll pop that in, so you can pop that in there. We can import, and then yeah, we were doing Sludge Bomb for the second move. I really want to try Disable because I've seen some good results with that, especially at the speed tier that we're at. It's good to block people out of a move that they used last turn if it's going to be, disadvantageous. And then yeah, we're doing doubles, so we'll throw the Protect in, and then yeah, we'll just do that 5 more times. So again, we can have a look at Meowscarada, and Meowscarada is a bit more physical. So again, we can have a look at the base powers, and yeah, we definitely want to be running Flower Trick that has your 100% crit. And then we can also just have a look at crit moves. So we can do a Night Slash or a Shadow Claw. Since we've already got Ghost, we probably don't need to do the Shadow Claw. So we'll definitely go for Night Slash, even protein. So then we can go to our SP calculator generic. We'll go Meowscarada, and yeah, we'll do our Flower Trick plus our Night Slash. And they're both base power 70, which is a little bit low, but we do have that +2 to chance to crit here. We could even do Scope Lens and bump that up a little bit. Yeah, we're going to have Protein. Do we want to be Jolly here? Let's have a look at our speed tiers. So yeah, these are the ones we're not beating. We can speed tie with Noivern at 32, or we can outspeed Greninja with 32. Um, how often are we seeing Starmie Mega? Again, there's that Sneasler, which could be good to outspeed. Frostlass Mega. So yeah, let's probably do, and then yeah, we've got Alakazam in there as well. So let's do 30. That takes us to 190 speed. We've got our 28 attack, and then it's put 8 in hit points. So again, we've got a little bit less defense than Gengar. Um, if we drop that down, we can drop it down to 25 even, and then get a little bit more bulk. Again, just as a starting point, and then as you go through and be like, no, I need that extra damage for this reason, right? You can go through and then comment that in. Use the specific calculator, and then yeah, we definitely want triple axle to add a bit extra ice coverage, and we will put protect in there, and that's 2 done. I have a look at Rotom Heat. Rotom Heat's pretty simple. You get Overheat, and you can choose Thunder if you want to risk the accuracy. Usually just go Thunderbolt. And then, yeah, you've got Nightshade here because these are not going to be taking good fire and electric damage. So sometimes it's just better to do 50 damage. But again, now we'll go to the generic calculator. We will put in our Rotom Heat. And then we've got our Overheat, which is our specific move. And then, yeah, we'll go Thunderbolt. So again, you can see BP 130, BP 90. It's good to do about 27, 25. So let's just immediately get down to 25 special attack. We could probably even go maybe a little bit lower because go and put timid in, or we can put modest. But again, this is just my typical preference for Rotom. I usually run Citrus Berry, try and buff hit points as much as I possibly can. And then you can just spend the rest. You can also just manually enter a value here. So like I can put 9 here. That keeps me with 32 hit points, 25 special attack. And then I can come here and actually have a look to see what 9 does. So 9 gets me to outspeed Sharpedo Mega. Oh, that's at 0 P. Let's do 32 plus nature. On best case scenario, we're outspeeding, Tyranitar. That's pretty good. We're not actually getting a benefit from investing 9. We could drop that down to 8. And we've got, yeah, Toucannon, Sylveon, Rangaroo. Yeah, definitely want to be outspeeding Incineroar. We can also just have a look at a little bit further up. And seeing too many Embors or Flareons in the meta at the moment. So you've got to try and pick your targets. Victory Bells, there's your Tyranitar, Mega, Absol. It's just normal Beedrill. Not seeing too many Garbodors. Let's quickly keep looking. We've got 27. There's Gyarados. So, I mean, it's a good idea, if you just want to full counter Gyarados. And I think Rotom Heat might be a different story. See, I usually Rotom Wash and choose a low speed because Gyarados isn't typically doing that much damage. But I do get threatened by Gyarados in this scenario. So let's invest a bit more into our speed on this one. Again, that's with timid nature. You can always go none. And then you need, yeah, so in this scenario, to reach 146, we need the SP nature because we're only get to 138 without it. So let's put timid back. We got our 28. We can go for a little bit less. So another way is if we just want to do a manual override, um, or we can probably just drop maybe Thunderbolt and, try and scale it back. So we can get about 6 in. And I don't think that's terrible because, again, my Rotoms I prefer to input. The overheat, we'll put our Thunderbolt, that's Thunderwave, put our Thunderbolt back. I run Nasty Plot and then Protect because if you can get that off on your 131, we can look at the stages. It's a +2 stage, so it gives us our, go to here, we go to the Pokedex. So you go to moves and you're like, well, what does Nasty Plot do? It raises the user's special attack by 2. Well, what does that even mean? Well, a +2 is a 200% increase, so it's times 2. So our 131 would be 262, which is very high. So we don't need overly investment if we're doing Nasty Plot. So that's the theory and logic there. So we'll do that to Primarina. We've got Citrus Berry, Scope Lens, and Gengar, right? So we had a look at the Pokedex, and then we can also have a look at the coverage. So yeah, Hydro Pump, we need some sort of a water move and a fairy move. That's going to do the most damage. We got Blizzard and Energy Ball here. We've only really got Slowbro with Psychic, but we also don't really have. We got Flower Trick for Grass. And yeah, only Shadow Ball against Poltergeist. So now let's go into our account. We'll put Primarina in. And you can see here, Auto Bulk may not be optimal for Primarina's defensive stats because, yeah, we've got 126 and 138, and that's with full defense investment. So let's do, so consider optimizing for special. So if we do special, it's just going to put the same because we don't have anything else to put in. So again, we'll have a look at our speed tiers. So yeah, being water and fairy, our counter, we kind of want to look for dragons and other types of things. So yeah, we've got Incineroar, which is obviously, so if we do a timid nature here, but that's if we're going to be seeing, jolly Incineroar. Typically, they're mostly adamant. So we can do, we're not seeing too many of those. Victory Bells, Skarmories, Samurott if we're, going for our Energy Ball build. Yeah, and then we're back down to ones here. Umbreon. Okay, well, let's just pick that as a base, and then, yeah, we'll need a water move. So another way you can do this is you come back. Well, we are turning liquid moves into water moves, so I will need to update the flags there because we don't have. Oh no, we got sound. Um, so yeah, we could run Hyper Voice with your, and that's 90 base power, but it does have that spread damage. But I don't think that's bad. So we'll Hyper Voice. That's Hyper Beam. Hyper Voice with our Liquid Voice. And you may notice as well, if I do none here, they might change because Hyper Voice is normal, so I'm not getting stabbed. But when I add Liquid Voice in, I do get stabbed. So you may see the numbers change there as well. And then we can go for full spread. So if we're not doing sound and we'll just now, we need a fairy move. So you can come here and have a look at fairy move right down the bottom. So we've got Misty Explosion if we want to blow up. Moonblast if we want single target, or we can drop down to Dazzling Gleam if we want to hit both. I think we might just turn our Primarina into a bit of an AoE type scenario. And yeah, you can see here we've got 90 base power, 80 base power, kind of 28 is a good point to get in. So yeah, if we've got 28 in special attack, 28 in SPE, got pretty decent. You can even auto at this point and it kind of just moves them to hit point. Sometimes, that might be a better choice. So I'm pretty happy with that. We'll grab that. put in our Primarina as an import. We still got two moves. So we were thinking if we go back to our coverage, so something either like Blizzard or Energy Ball, and I don't think Energy Ball's too terrible. It gives us better. We can also have a look at status moves. That's another thing we could do. So if we get rid of Fairy, our category is status. So yeah, we've got Amnesia if we want to raise our special defense by 2. We got Tracked, Baby Doll Eyes, and Calm Mind. Encore is getting a bit of a sort of usage around the field. We could also Life Dew if we want a bit more, the healing. Rain Dance, Reflect, Sing. So if you want to be a bit, you know, less offensive and a bit more utility, Helping Hands is really good because it's got that +5 priority, which is certainly beneficial in some scenarios. So for now, we're kind of a little bit on the offensive. So we'll put our Energy Ball and Protect in. And then, yeah, we don't have an item yet. So since we're doing our Liquid Voice with Hyper Voice, you can run the Mystic Water. And then we can go back to our generic calc. If we were to put Mystic Water in here, you should see that that increases our base power of Hyper Voice to 108. So all of that math is calculated in the back end. And then, yeah, it's found a different entry point for the 2, which is 23. So again, you can still override that. We can even maybe set that at 27. So again, depending what you choose, you can adjust these. So yeah, if we're going for our Hyper Voice, Liquid Voice combo with our base power 108, we can get up to 27 and then we can put, the 11 hit point. So you can just copy that line or you can come into here and, we minused a point here and added a point there. You can do that a few different ways. Now we will have a look at Crocodile. So we'll close down our Primarina tabs. We'll have a look. First, have a look at coverage. So Earthquake's going to be a big one. We've only really got to combo that with Levitate. We don't have any else flying, and Earthquake's going to be bad for our poison mons. So we may need a slightly less damage alternative. We've also got Gunk Shot. We need what's our Dark Crunch. So again, we can come in here. We can see our attacks 137. So we're definitely looking at physical moves. And then we'll need an earth move, a ground move. So we've got Earthquake. We also have access to high horsepower. I mean, we're not really running Dig. You can run Stomping Tantrum. Um, Given we don't really have a Focus Sash user in the group and we don't even have a Choice Scarf user yet, I think we might try a Choice Scarf Crocodile. So we'll take that into consideration. So we've got kind of our ground moves scoped out. We'll have a look at our dark moves. So yeah, we've got foul play, which uses the attack stat, the target's attack stat. Or we can just do crunch and try and lower the defense by 1. We've got chop if you want to block sound moves, lash out, knockout, assurance, bite. Knockoff's another really good one as well to get rid of the 1.5. But if we're going to look into choice scarf, let's do crunch. So again, we'll have a look at our generic calculator. We'll have a look at crocodile. We want our choice scarf. So that gives us a 112. So like when you're using choice scarf, you can try and have a look at full 32. That gets you to 144. So you divide that by 2 and then times that by 1.5 because that's what that does. And then we can have a look, we're trying to beat, 32 plus nature Pokemon. So to do Aerodactyl and Alakazam, we do need that speed nature. So let's go Jolly, which is down here. And then to outspeed them, we need at least 24. So we're assuming that no one else in the format's going to be using a choice scarf, and we just need to invest 24. We can outspeed Alakazam Mega, who cannot hold a choice scarf. And then, we're doing crunch. And so we've got 24 speed, 32 attack. We've got our jolly nature with crunch. We're also going to do, high horsepower. They've got slightly different base powers, but you can see the only one that really aligns is at 13. So that's going to drop our attack a lot. So we can just not do that. We can take the 32 attack and then, yeah, our remaining points buff up special defense by 1 and put 9 in hit points. Gives us generically the least amount of damage. So we'll grab that and we'll put it in our dial and import. We can add our high horsepower. We don't want to add protect because we're choice scarfing and we don't want to be locked into that. So close combat is, pretty high on the list. It gets us a lot of the, targets here for max damage. So yeah, I don't disagree with close combat. Gives us a bit of fighting coverage. We don't really need gunshot. We've got a couple poison teams. Can we rock slide? Yes, we can. All right. So yeah, we're definitely adding that in. And that gives us a kind of certain, an answer to Charizard, really, which is what we're doing with our previous Garchomp in the previous team. So yeah, no real different there. And yeah, we're outspeeding fast in the format with 149. So pretty happy with that Crocodile, but we'll see how it all plays out. So again, we'll close all these and we'll do lastly Slowbro Galar. So Slowbro Galar is something I've been keen to use in the past, but never really had an opportunity to. So this would be good to put it to the test. I'm definitely keen for quick draw. So let's have a look at the moves coverage. So yeah, we've got Focus Blast here, and maybe that'd be more of a gamble on this. We've got our Gunk Shot, Blizzard, and Psychic. So let's open up our generic calc. We've got our Slowbro Galar. And, we're definitely with 50 speed, not going to be looking too hard at the speed tiers in this one. We'll definitely do a modest and we'll do our shell side arm, which gives us our 90 base power move. I mean, we can have a look, but we're kind of banking on our quick draw ability to prop us up rather than investing, and that allows us to invest more in what looks like special defense and a bit of hit point. So it's trying to close the gap there because our defense at 115 is not too bad, and we can make it a little bit bulky if we want. Typically, slow Pokemon you do want to make a bit bulky because they're attacking second, so they're likely going to need to take a hit first. So one way you can do is you can kind of drag this bulk or damage down. We're trying to get somewhere in between. And I think it doesn't do that until all the way at the bottom. So, we're only going to be doing 10 special attack. With modest, we've got about 143 compared to if we went full bulk, which is 165. So maybe going somewhere in the middle, 150, even drop a little bit less than that, or we can drop to 150, and if we were dropped to below, that's 48. So let's go somewhere there. So we've got 17 special defense, 17, and then we've got our full 32 in hit points as well. So that's not too bad. We've got a held item, we've got a pick. So, we can have a look at these, add flinch. If we're going to be jumping ahead 30% of the time, we can then flinch 10% of the time, and that's a lot of rolls. Or we can quick claw, and then we poke a deck and have a look at our items and have a look at our quick claw. It gives us a 20% chance to move first. So then we have a 1 in 5 and then a 1 in 3 chance of going first. So let's try and jump ahead and just overwrite the speed tiers with something like this. So we'll pop that in there. We'll import. Yeah, we needed Psychic as our second. And then we can have a look if we were to go back to here. Let's have a look at our status moves. What do we got? We can Amnesia, we can Belly Drum, but that's maximizing attack. We can block the opponent from switching out. We've got Calm Mind. Sable's going to be pretty, chancy. Got Iron Defense, Nasty Plot might be a game changer. Skill swap, slack off if we want to heal, and that might be advantageous. So or we can do Trick Room if we need an answer to Trick Room because we don't have really one at the moment. Or Yawn. We don't really have access to something like Taunt, I don't think, on the team, across the team. So maybe Trick Room's our answer to counteracting opponent's Trick Room, or just maybe in scenarios where we're a bit slower. So definitely want Protect in that last slot. And then, yeah, it's whether we want to do the route of, put that there. Trick Room, we can do a helping hand or we can go a full offensive nasty plot. So I'm kind of tossing off between the two, whether we do slack off, nasty plot, maybe have an answer to Trick Room. There's not an awful lot of Trick Room, but you will always get caught out with one or two. No Escape's not really going to be helping us. And then if we were to have a look at other special abilities, we've got, yeah, poison, ice, water. Like we can add a third attack if we want to. Stored power, we get bonus to the bonuses, the stage increases. But yeah, I'm thinking we got nasty plot on Rotom Heat. Double that would put it to 300, which is huge. All right, let's turn this into a bit of a sweeper. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. We'll run the gambit and have a look. So yeah, pretty happy with the team. We've got Gengarai, we've got our items set, we've got our moves set. So certainly something to test. So yeah, we'll close these tabs. We will load the poker paste, and that might give us another bit of a view of in the team. We can dump that there. We can put Gengar team then, and yeah, we don't need notes. So yeah, drafted team, and we'll hit that. We're going to have a look. And again, I'm away, so I'll just deliver here. So yeah, we've got our 4 moves, we've got our EVs, our abilities, everything's looking all right. So excellent. All right, well, I will spend a bit of time. I will assemble the team, and I will catch you back in the next one. If you've stayed this long, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Sneak peek of what's to come in the subsequent week. I'll be looking at, doing, if you haven't watched the defensive calculations yet, and you found that interesting, I'll be doing a version of that for the attack calculations. So we can then look at the reverse, see when attack values are beneficial. And then, yeah, we'll play this team on the doubles ladder. And we can also have a look at the origin story of our team draft, team builder, mathematical approach. But until then, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and I appreciate your support. Until next time, thank you very much.